Hey guys, welcome back to the Mitt podcast, episode number 98. In this episode, we're going to be talking about networking, how to do it, and how to connect with the best people in the world. Networking, while many of the fundamental truths are still the same, has evolved more probably in the last 5 years than ever before with social media. We're seeing people with little to no experience having multi-million dollar brands all over the world, known in every continent we have, just because of social media. But how do you network the right way? And how do you do this if you don't have a big social media following? And how can you do it to be around the right people? So the first thing to know about networking that to me is just before you know all of these hacks, these secrets, and all these little things that you just can't mess up is nobody cares where you went to school, who you know. They only care about the value that you add to them in the marketplace in their business in general. So it's important that when you're meeting people for the first time, it is not their job to help you. It is not their job to, just because you had a nice conversation and you're a decent person, that they suddenly need to mentor you, let you shadow them, or they should connect you with someone. They don't owe you anything. And the thing that really made me realize this was living in New York City or downtown Brooklyn for 2.5 years. And what I learned is that everyone in New York, for the most part, minds their business. So if you're there for a reason. It's a very direct place. And it's important to know who you are and what you bring to the table and what your real skill sets are. And respect is king, no matter where you're at, no matter your age, no matter your background. And it's important to know yourself. I'll give you an example. In my early jobs before I became an entrepreneur, I always knew who the alphas were in the room, who were the leaders within the organization, and who called the shots. And there's a book by Robert Greene, The 48 Laws of Power. The first rule is so important because this is a fatal mistake that people make, is never outshining the master. And I think it's important, no matter what level you're at in life or how successful you are, is just simply always make those around you feel great. Show them love, support them, not to manipulate them, but because you should be a good person. It's not your job to tell everyone about your success. I think instead, when you're meeting people, when you're friends with people, focus on them. Focus on how great they are. Focus on helping them. Some of the most successful people I know who have the biggest networks, the most successful businesses, and they're just great people, fun to be around, is they're almost like a bridge. If I go to them and I'm like, hey, do you know anybody that's a videographer? They're like, let me group text you. I just had one of my friends reach out. He has one of the biggest podcasts. He has a massive following. He has over 10 million followers. He just texted me and he said, hey, bro, I saw a couple of people on your podcast. Would you be down to do a podcast swap or connect me with them? I haven't even asked him for the people yet with him. And within a day, I connected him with two really, really successful people that have been on my podcast. And he already booked it and has everything scheduled. Go out of your way to help people. So if you have a chance to help someone, no matter their level, now it's different if they're trying to finesse you or they have some ill intentions or something like that. But if you respect them and they're a good person, help them. And even as something small, I think someone in Austin that follows me was like, hey, there's this guy, Lucas. I was on his podcast. He has a brand called Squid House. And he goes, hey, this guy at a meal prep company. He goes, hey, I saw that you know Lucas. Is there any way you could connect us? We really want to sponsor him, or we'd love to send him some stuff just for promotion because it's a good fit for the brand. I said, sure. Put him in a group chat in Instagram. I don't know what happened with it, but that's just my point. I just bridged that connection for no reason. And I never will expect something in return, ever. And so always just help people. If you meet someone and they're incredibly sharp and they're a great salesperson, they just got out of college, or they're about to leave this company, and you know 4 or 5 business owners, and you know not only could it help that great salesperson that's young, but also could help those business people, for no reason, text them and said, hey, do you guys looking for salespeople? I just met someone. I don't know him well, but I'd love to just connect you guys and see if it's a fit. Be in a habit of just helping people. It's called the law of reciprocity. And what it means is that when you give people things continuously and you help people without expectation, there's an instinctive nature that they want to help you back. Think about it. You ever done a favor for someone and then out of nowhere, they just help you? It may be 20 years later, it may be 10 years later, it may be the next day, but people naturally want to help you back. And I've found that if you don't have value to bring to the table, you can bridge it through other people. And for a lot of you guys that are starting out or you're shifting industries, know what you can bring to the table. And it includes serving the water, cleaning the bathroom, opening the doors, doing errands, and just helping them in some capacity. You know, I get asked all the time, like people will say, hey, I will come work for you for free. And my first instinct is like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're working for free, but I'm going to have to spend all this energy, not only being around someone new, but helping them all the time. I would pay someone to not have to spend time with them if they're the wrong fit. So if you're like just working for someone for free, you're trading time, and that time has value. There's people that would pay for that time, and even then I probably wouldn't want it because I would have someone working around me. I wouldn't be able to say certain things. I wouldn't have to be able to give out certain information. So whether it's you interning somewhere, whether it's you doing a deal with someone, you have to add actual real value, whatever that is. You know, some of my really good friends in Austin, I don't know if you guys have seen the channel, and now they're on YouTube, they have podcasts, they have everything. It's called the School of Hard Knocks. And when I met them for the first time, they had 50,000, 30, 40, 50,000. It was like their like 7th or 8th video was blowing up. And they lived in Austin, and I've lived in Austin for the last 3.5, 4 years. And I said, hey, like, let's connect. And at the time, you know, you guys knew me around that time, 2021, I had a successful business then. And me and them just became really good friends. But they were in UT at the time. They were considering dropping out. And what they realized, and I was talking about this, and I have a podcast with them if you guys want to listen to it, if you're big on branding and social media, is what they realized is while they said this, they said, look, while we know a lot about business, we're just starting out. And they're like, no one really wants to listen to us yet. So what's the fastest way that we can add value and really be successful as a media brand? They said, well, let's go talk to other successful entrepreneurs, but also not the normal ones that we all know, the random guy that's running $100 million business that has 300 followers on Instagram on private, the guy that's running the financial services company that only has a Facebook, but he hasn't got on it in 6 months. And they're like, let's go talk to real successful people that can give unique advice that's not just the same regurgitated stuff. They said, if it's natural, we're authentic, and we're just adding value, why would they not want to talk with us? And the consumer, the viewers, why would that not add value? So see, you took these 3 guys. This was 4 years ago. They were broke college kids that all they had, they walk around with an iPhone, maybe a microphone, and would go up. Now they have, my gosh, probably close to 10 million followers and building an incredible media business. And will probably, I mean, they already are, but just unbelievably successful. Why did this happen? They did not think the world owed them anything. They knew, they looked themselves in the mirror. It's like, okay, if we're college kids this, how do I think differently? And what's cool if you look at the way that they've networked is now they know unbelievably successful people. And it's because they added some type of value. And now you see, like for them, they're having just these incredible interviews after another, and it's becoming so easy. It's because they built such a brand that people are like, hey, let's connect. I love what you're doing. Hey, you should interview my friend John. He runs this company. And that's happening. Why? Because they added value. They didn't go to any of those people asking for one thing. They simply came there with value. And that's the difference. And that's how winners think. Entitlement is one of the worst traits, especially in someone that's starting off, and definitely also someone that's done something successful in the past. The world's constantly changing, and the world doesn't owe you anything. So it's important to think from that standpoint. Okay, next is always be thinking about building your brand. I was just having this conversation last night, is we're in a different world now. And when you look at the newest and most successful brands, whether they're creators, small business owners, they are blowing up because they're utilizing content creation that is organically building and attracting the consumers that grow their business. So whether it's on social media or whether it's in your personal life, you have a brand. Maybe the brand is you're just an incredible real estate guy. You travel, you have this great personality. You get another person that's like just so fun. Their brand is like whenever they're there, it's going to be a great night. You have other people that their brand is they are huge givers. They simply always are giving and helping others. You see my point? Your brand is slowly being made up. And what that brand is what people say about you, maybe at their kitchen table, to their wife or to their family, when no one's around and you're never going to know what they said. That is your brand. And it's interesting. It's like you almost have to work years and years, sometimes decades, for that 5 to 10 second spiel that someone tells them that goes, oh, wow, yeah, connect me with him. You have to work so hard to get, oh, I founded this company and we did this and we did this. And they go, whoa. And sometimes that's all it takes. But you have to always be thinking about your brand. And what's important to your brand is, what are you known for? What value do you bring? And what are your non-negotiables? Because your brand is ever changing. If we look at Disney, for example, in the last few years, Disney traditionally has had one of the best and most known brands in the entire world. And they made the mistake of getting too invested into politics. And while individuals, maybe it's different if they have political aspirations or there's certain things that they want to believe. When you go to Disney, you don't want to think about politics. Same thing with the NFL. They made this mistake. They started getting tied into politics. When you're relaxing on a Sunday, no matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, or independent, you do not want to be thinking about politics. You just want to watch your team. And you saw how that hurt those brands, and the NFL has recovered and done incredible. And Disney is striding towards those steps. You see, they had to let go of their CEO, and they hired back Bob Iger, who is one of the best entrepreneurs ever, and has done an incredible job. And you can see how they're reshaping and rebuilding those brands. And he's actually, if you've seen all the new movies that they're going to be re-releasing, they're bringing back that same magic that we all know, that we've all experienced, in new forms and higher quality and difference. They're expanding everything because they're trying to focus on that instead of politics. You see, it's a presidential election. They haven't been saying anything. So it's important to know what's your brand. And that's okay if it's political. It's okay if it's in this certain niche and that niche. And it's okay to change your brand, but it's important to be conscious about it. All right. So let's break this down. The next thing is stop entering situations, whether that's a meeting, whether that's, being out with friends or an interview, with expectations. Expectations are, I think, the killer of happiness and fulfillment. But I also think that people can feel it. For sales, because every company is heavily sales based. Anytime I'm talking to one of my sales reps that maybe has had a rough quarter or a rough week or a rough month versus the one that's having the record month, the easiest deal to close is the deal that you go and the appointment that you're in right after you just made money, right after you just closed the deal. Because it's not that you don't care anymore, but you're not worried about it because you just closed a deal. If you're constantly around abundance, you're not entering a meeting hoping that it works out or your life is ruined. People can sense the neediness. And so it's important that whether you're reaching out to someone, whether you're going to connect with someone, always go to them with value. Like I was just in DC for the first time, and I quickly had to figure out what my value was, because I quickly found out, unless someone was a business owner, they're not entrepreneurs. They work for political, people that hold office, or they're consultants, they're campaign managers, they're all these different things. And so when I was connecting with people, I had to think about, what value do I bring to that landscape? So I was talking heavily about media. I was talking about the people I've had on my podcast. And they're like, whoa. They're like, let's connect. Let's do this. Let's do that. When I was telling them, oh, I'm an entrepreneur and I have this and this, it was like they didn't even care. They're like, oh, okay. They literally looked at me like I was just a waste of time. And then the second I said that, all of a sudden they wanted to talk more. All of a sudden they're like, yeah, let's get your information. Yeah, here's my chief of staff. Connect here. Have your assistant reach out to us on Monday. Everything was just going streamlined. Why? Because while talking about a successful business or being an entrepreneur works great in other environments and other ones not so much. I had to know my environment. Okay, last, this is the most important, is don't change how you treat people based on their status, title, or how much money they have. This is, to me, more than a life hack. This is that you are a good person, and I can tell you it will pay you dividends forever. You never know who you're talking to. You've seen the story of, like, a lot of times really wealthy people don't dress super nice, but also you don't know who someone knows, what they're going to say, and what they could also become. I told this story on my podcast a long time ago, gosh, maybe 2022, where someone that was in the company that I was working for was regularly talked bad about. And just because I was kind and respectful to her, about 2 years later when I started my business, she reached out. She had a new job at a new company and bridged a connection that we did almost $50 million in transactions between the two businesses. And that likely would have never happened if I didn't treat that person with respect. And I see this, it's just when people are ingenuine and they're always trying to get something out of someone and they only talk to them, give them time of day, pay attention to them, be respectful if they can get something from them, I've never seen that person be truly successful. I've seen them leech off of people. I've seen them get a few wins and then they go down. But really successful people are just nice. You know, like you can't be successful without being a good person, without being kind. You can get a few wins, but it's hard to do it long run. You know, being an asshole, you have to have, you either have to come from money, like you have to be able to afford to be an asshole. You have to be so big and have so much leverage that people just don't care. But the bulk of the world, I was like, for example, I've been to Aspen a few times. If you guys know where Aspen is in Colorado, it's a really nice, beautiful place. Really successful people. And I have a couple friends that live there part-time, some that live there full-time. And we were just talking about how nice. I was like, man, everyone's so nice here. And he goes, man, Grant, if you're not nice here, people will not talk to you. You will not be friends with anybody. You cannot live here without being a kind person. And I love that. And someone said something, there's no such thing as a racist wealthy person. You're on a yacht with another person, he looks different than you. Do you think they care what your race is, what your background is? No. It's, are you a good person? And really wealthy people are always thinking, how can I help someone? How can I be a good person? Who can I give to? It starts small, but if you can be trusted with small things in your life, it replicates into big things. And those are the people that really change the world. Be a good person, help others, be significant, and be a person that gets things done. If you're a person that's reliable, whether you are the intern, whether it's the entry-level position, or whether it's the salesperson closing out the quarter, the entrepreneur, if you can always be the person that delivers, not only will you always have opportunities, but you will be an unbelievably successful person. Not only will you have an incredible network, but you'll accomplish unbelievable things and have an incredible life. So hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. If you're a startup founder, entrepreneur, or salesperson, I've just opened up a private community that is by approval basis only. We've been working with entrepreneurs to massively scale their business and have had just unbelievable results so quickly. If you guys are interested in applying, the link in the description is below. It's grantmittcoaching.com. And you guys can apply and see if it's a good fit. Other than that, you guys can also find me on all my social media channels or my YouTube channel at Grant Mitt. And that, I hope you guys have an incredible week. It's a pleasure talking to you guys, and we'll talk to you guys soon.